Hello everyone, welcome to Model Frontier. We're here today with pack 13 of Agora models Build the RMS Titanic. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you don't miss a second of any of my great content. Before we get started, I do want to take a moment to just acknowledge that this channel has officially hit 500 subscribers. That's right, we finally made it, guys, or I finally made it. I appreciate everyone subscribing, and I'm glad that these videos seem to mean so much to so many people. Because we've hit the 500 mark, I will be doing a streaming night. I'll probably be streaming some video game. I'm still kind of working out the logistics of all that. So keep an eye on the channel. I will announce when that is coming, either in the community tab or on another video. So just keep an eye on it, and I'll announce when that's coming. That being said, if you remember last pack, we basically finished off the entire boat deck, and we expanded our hull a little bit, and we started on the next deck down. So we're basically starting the next layer of the Titanic cake, as it were. Obviously, if you've taken a look through your pack, or you've looked ahead on this video, we're going to actually be expanding that promenade deck all the way and starting to add some details to it. So before we get into that, your Titanic trivia question from pack 12 that we left you with. If you remember, it was a true or false question. After the war, again, this is World War I we're talking about, Charles Lightoller became a successful chicken farmer. And the answer to that is it's true. It's sadly true, because what happened is, after the Titanic disaster, even though he was the most senior surviving officer, he was never put in a position of responsibility like that on any other liner again. Basically, he was blackballed by the entire shipping industry. So here's the start of stage 69. We're doing another section of the A-Deck Promenade. But first, your first Titanic trivia question for this. In what year was the Carpathia launched? Was it A, in 1898, B, 1900, or C, 1902? The answer to that will come at the end of stage 70. So now here we are starting off the next section of the deck. Now, first of all, I do like that this is not, I didn't put this on. This was printed on there. Not sure why they didn't do that for the beginning, but for the upper staircase, but be that as it may. The first set of the directions say to put the wood decking on this. We're not doing that, though, because we have to make sure that because our wood decking is going to go across several sections of this. As I'll show you right now. So if you were to take a piece of our wood decking and put it on here, you'll see we have overhang there and a lot of overhang there. Since this pack is going to be all about putting this whole section of the deck together, my advice, we're gonna wait to glue the decking down till we get the rest of this put together. So we'll do the whole decking later on. So what are we doing first? Well, we got another staircase to put in. I'm not sure we're going to see this one too much, so I'm not really going to paint it or anything or do any special stuff to it. But you're going to flip your deck over, and then it's just going to feed in just like the top staircase did. You'll have a couple of lugs that fits into, and then you're going to put we got 2 screw holes there, which we're going to put in with 2 AP screws. Just like that. Now next, we're going to need to get our front part of this deck, which if you remember, I did tell you to leave this part off for now. And this is why, because now, of course, we're going to put it here. They want us to put it there and attach it with, you guessed it, 4 AP screws. We're going to attach it here with 4 AP screws. Get ready, guys, because this stage of the build, this pack is going to have a lot of AP screws to use. There we go. Now with that tight and done, that is it for stage 69. Okay, so here we are at the start of stage 70, and obviously we got another piece of our promenade deck to put on. Again, they do tell you to put the wood decking on, but we're skipping that until, like I said in the last stage, we have all the deck done. So now we're going to bring over our steadily growing piece of decking. And it's actually going this way. I'm going to fit it over here. And let's take a guess as which screws we're going to use to hold this together. You guessed it, AP screws. And there we go. And with that, short as it was, we are done with stage 70. And since we are done with stage 70, let's answer your Titanic trivia question. So in what year was the Carpathia launched? Was it in A, 1898, B, 1900, or was it C, 1902? And of course the answer is the Carpathia was launched in C, 1902. Who would have thought a decade later it would have been the center of this story? So here we are at the beginning of stage 71, and I know we seem like we're moving along pretty quickly, but trust me, this stage we're gonna get some more stuff done than what's in the instructions. But before we do that, our next Titanic trivia question here is, how many furnaces were in the Titanic? Were there A, 100, B, 139, or C, 159? And of course you'll get your answer at the end of stage 70. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously we're going to take this piece of the deck and join it up to the whole other section that we've been building the last 2 stages here. And of course, it's going to require 4 more of those lovely AP screws. So with that section attached, now we're going to put on the rest of the decking we have to do. And using our KA decking, you'll notice there's a little section here that cuts through this little section that helps you guide where the housings are going to go. So just file that section out so that you have it good, and you have to do that on each side. And by now you know exactly how we're going to do this. So I'm going to get this glued on, and I'll meet you back here. There we go. That section's on. Now we're going to go all the way to the back here to put on this big piece of decking. And just like with some of the other decks before, you do have to kind of file off the lip that they give you here. Otherwise, this piece will not fit. But we're going to go ahead and put this on, and I'll meet you back here when that's all done. Now we got that bit of deck on. Now we are going to add the next couple expansion joints where there's this little gap in the wood planking here. Now this time you gotta be very careful which side you pick, because they're not identical on this one. So the first one we're gonna do is S21, which is a slightly longer piece. And that's gonna cover the port side here. Naturally, of course, on the other side, that means we're going to have S22 on this part. Just like that. Now we got one more little bit of detailing to put on. I don't want to hang this off, so we're going to move the camera. And it's this piece right here, which is T03. And the way it's going to go in is if you have a T section and a little box, the little box is going to point towards the stern. Just like that. With that little bit done, or not really a little bit, we did quite a lot. That's how we're going to end stage 71. So here we are, we're going to start stage 72, and we're going to do things, we're going to be going a little out of order here, but when I explain to you why, you're going to see why it makes sense. So we're going to flip, the first thing we're going to do though is the right order. We're going to flip this upside down, and we're going to add the aft grand staircase. Just like the original staircase, we've got a pair of locating lugs to put in. And again, since it is so low, and since it is in the interior part, and I don't think we're going to see too much of it, I'm not going to go into great detail like I did on the last one. Once we get that down in place, we're going to hold it in with, you guessed it, 3 AP screws. Okay, so now that that's in, now it tells you to flip it upside down, to flip it back over, and put this piece in. We're ignoring that. And here's why. Because just like the boat deck, you can clearly see we've got light bars that we have to put into place. And it just makes more sense to start on the bottom and work our way up. So technically we did go a little out of order already, because the first thing we were supposed to do is we're putting this light bar in up here. But it's not really going to matter because we're going straight back. We're going to put in all the light bars. So just like before, you start by popping in one side, and then you just got to pop the other side in. Helps to have a pair of tweezers to kind of pull these out. Now we got that one in place. Now we're going to go to the next one back. Where we're going to... So now we're going to go to the next one back where we have this one that actually has a bulb right here. You might want to choose to create a groove for that light to go in so that this will sit nice and flat. But again, just as we've done before, get one side in, pop the other side in. That one's in. Now we're going to go to this one here and pop in this one. This is technically done in 74. But again, we're going to do this smart. Especially since they decided to make this one go between two sections of the hull. There we go with that. But now we're going to set this aside and we're going to go back to 72 because there's a piece that we have to get out and put some windows frames into. So we're going to go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back here. So this bit of deck housing is the part we're going to be using, and I've already put in my glass as I've done in the past. We're going to be using KA set A01 windows, which are, I don't know if you'll, they're these windows, and we're going to need 6 of them to go right in there. So you know how to do this by now, so go put the windows in and I'll meet you back here. So there we go. Now we got our windows in. I did drill these light fixtures out, but I haven't put any fiber optics or lighting in them yet, just because I'm not necessarily sure how they intend to light this. So until we get if they intend to light this. So until I figure that out, I'm leaving those alone. I can always add the lighting in later. But next, we're going to bring over the back end of the promenade deck that we've been working on. I'm gonna get the camera over there. We're focusing in on this section here. And because obviously this piece is going to go on here. Obviously with the blank wall facing inward. And we're going to hold that in place with, take a guess. Yep. 4 AP screws. Okay, there we go. Just like that. And for now, with the exception of, looks like one light thing here, and maybe another small one here, since we're done on the bottom of this, we're going to flip this back over. And right here, where we put our piece here, we've got a vent to add in. This is piece 72G of the regular kit, or if you're using the KA set, this would be the upgrade V17. And it's going to go in there just like that with, as always, the bell facing out. Just like that. And now, with that, that is where we are going to end stage 72. But before we go on to 73, your Titanic trivia question was, just how many furnaces were in the Titanic? Were there A, 100, B, 139, or C, 159? Of course, the answer was C. There were 159 furnaces in the Titanic. So we're now going to start stage 73, and before we do, we're going to be jumping back a little bit to stage 68. Because if you remember correctly, I told you we weren't going to put this on until we were done working on the bottom of this section. Well, we're done working on the bottom for now, so now it's time to start putting stuff on the top here. And we're going to be smart, and we're going to work from the front to the back. However, before we do, your Titanic trivia question for this stage. A.G. Puchin took 3 of these items from his cabin as well as a small trinket. What were they? Were they A, books, B, pictures, C, money belts, or D, oranges? You'll get your answer at the end of stage 74. So we're going to flip this back over here. And if you remember correctly, we did put our screws into it. And as you figure out, it's basically just going to go right onto here. And once that's in position, it's going to get held in. Look. Sorry. And once we get it in there, it's held in position with a pair of, guess what? AP screws. That's on. We're ready to continue on. So to continue on with this stage, we're going to set this aside and we're going to take out our next deck housing. So we're looking at this deck housing here, and there's a bunch of windows that have to go in. And as you can already see, I've taken the liberty of putting them all in already because there's just so many of them. If you're using the stock windows, keep in mind, there is no margin for error. They only give you enough to cover just what the windows are, what windows you have. And you got to do all the windows on both sides and the front. And then if you're like me, you have to add in this door and these windows here. The best way to do that, there's a piece in the KA set, part number D18, which will be a template for this window, for this whole setup right here. You can definitely use it to help cut out your windows if you want, and then you frame them just like always. As far as this piece goes, if you're using the KA set, all the windows on this part and in the front, these square windows are A11, and all the windows in this back section here are A12. So realistically, you're only using 2 different sets of windows. Once you got those windows in place, if you decide to glaze your windows like I do, you can do that. Once you got all your windows done, you'll bring back over your deck so we can put this on. So with this bit of decking, naturally you can obviously see the way the piece goes on. It is going to go on to here. There are grooves for it to go into. And naturally, it's going to be held down with AP screws in every screw hole. So if it's a little warped, like mine obviously is just a tiny bit warped, don't worry too much about it, because once you get them screwed in, it'll hold it all into place. And it's going to take 10 screws to do that, or in my case 9, because I had to cut this one out so I can make room for my windows. So once you get those screws in, meet me back here. So this is a little embarrassing, but I forgot to continue the recording, so I'm just going to have to talk you through this next part. So once you have that screwed into place, there's one more thing we have to put on, and that is those two bulkheads that they have here. The easiest way to do this is you want to line the flat end of the bulkhead up against the wall, and the window side faces out on each side. Obviously, if you're using the KA set, you won't be able to take advantage of the pegs. So what I would recommend doing is putting a little bit of glue on the part that sticks to the wall, as well as on the bottom. That way you'll get it nice and flat and centered, and it'll look perfect. Once you got those on, technically we're supposed to put a light bar in at the bottom of the ship, but we've already done that because we're doing this smarter. So that is the end of stage 73. So stage 74 is going to start with this section of the ship. And boy, this took a long time to do. First of all, a modification I did, because there is a window here. So obviously, just like with stage 73, they do provide you with a part for this. It is part D19. And once again, you can just use it as your guide to kind of cut the window out. Then that and that window are all A23. You have two slightly thinner ones, which are A24. Then you got these windows. Now it's important that on each of these sections that are kind of flattened on here, those are all A17. But on the upper sections, the sections where it juts out, those are a different window. Those are A18. Make sure you note that so that you don't mess up like I initially did and just put them all, start putting on all windows. These windows also have special glass, which will be glasses 4 and 5 on your KA sheet. And again, there's two different ones. The look on the glass will tell you, because it'll have, I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but the glass itself will have the look of the frame that it is. So if it's got a curve in the glass, it's going on one of these windows. And if it doesn't, it goes on the flat windows. And then this side, these windows are all A12s. So obviously there's a lot of windows to put into this. I've already done that, so we can just move right on to the next part, which naturally would be attaching it to our boat deck, to our deck. So we're going to follow, again, we're going to follow the pattern. And again, it's going to be secured down with AP screws in every place there's a screw hole. So for this part, altogether, you're looking at a dozen screws. Once again, I'm going to screw them all in and meet you back here. Just like that. Now all that's screwed into place, and you can see that these walls are now on nice and tight. You might think we're done, but there's one more piece we have to put on. And it's this piece right here. Now mine looks slightly different because of how I did the roof beams on A-Deck, I had to basically cut the top bar of this off. The KA set doesn't actually show these instructions, but these are basically bracer pieces that help brace up the deck. And you can obviously see they leave a cutout for them right on our deck. And we're just going to glue it in. Just like that. And then, of course, we go back a little further. Remember I told you we're going to hold off on putting that in? Well, we're going to put it in right now. Alright, and since we put our light in on the bottom, which is technically the last thing it asks you to do, that is all there is to do for this stage. That's all there is to do for this pack. So in answer to your last Titanic trivia question, A.J. Puchin took 3 of these items from his cabin as well as a small trinket. What were they? Was it A, books, B, pictures, C, money belts, or D, oranges? And the answer, of course, is D. He took oranges. So that is it for pack 13, and wow, I'm sure you're impressed like I am with the level of detail that we've gotten into this. And I'm sure, just like me, you're probably going to store it until pack 14 with your boat deck on top of the A-Deck Promenade. So we're going to finally get an idea of just what this is starting to look like. Plus, this is a very auspicious issue because we're over halfway done, guys. I mean, it's been a long time since we started this, it feels like, but we're here. We're almost we're over halfway done at this point. So I can't wait to continue. I can't wait till the next pack comes up. I've been looking ahead on the various Facebook groups. So it's a very exciting time. Before we go, your Titanic trivia question for next time. Mrs. Dickinson Bishop was the first woman to do what in relation to the Titanic? Was it A, get in a lifeboat, B, spot the iceberg, or C, row in a lifeboat? Of course, the answer to that will be coming next time, as well as hopefully an announcement for the game streaming that I'm going to be doing, and that'll be coming to you next time on the Model Frontier.